The wind carried salt, the waves whispered against the rocks, and for the first time in years I felt free. My island, yes, my very own island, was everything I'd dreamed of when I signed the papers. After decades of working as an engineer, I finally cashed in my retirement and bought a piece of paradise just off the mainland coast. It wasn't glamorous by billionaire standards, just a few acres of rocky shore, a weathered cabin, a dock, and a stretch of white sand, but it was mine. No HOA rules, no suburban gossip, no nosy neighbors, just peace. At least that's what I thought. I hadn't been living there more than 2 weeks before. I saw the first sign of trouble, a pastel-colored pontoon boat pulling up to my dock. On board stood a woman with a clipboard, a permanent scowl, and the unmistakable aura of entitlement. Her name was Karen, and she was the president of Seaside HOA on the mainland. "Excuse me," she barked, stepping onto my dock without even asking permission. 3 men in polos followed behind her, each with the HOA logo embroidered on their chests. "We need to discuss your property." I wiped sweat from my bride bin repairing dock boards all morning and stared at her. "My property? What about it?" "This island," she said with authority, "falls under the extended oversight of Seaside HOA. Your cabin, dock, and landscaping are all subject to community guidelines." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Lady, this island was privately owned for 50 years before I bought it. You don't have any authority here." Her eyes narrowed. "Everyone answers to the HOA eventually. If you don't comply, we'll fine you. If you don't pay, we'll force you to sell." "Try me," I said, pointing back toward the water. "I'll get off my dock before I call the sheriff." She didn't leave immediately. She lingered long enough to jot notes on her clipboard, muttering about violations before finally retreating. But that was just the beginning. Within days, envelopes started arriving at the marina where I kept my supply boat. Bright pink violation notices, each more ridiculous than the last. "Your cabin's roof does not meet HOA-approved color codes. Your satellite dish is unsightly and non-compliant. Your shoreline foliage requires trimming according to HOA landscaping standards." I ignored them, tossed them in the trash, but Karen wasn't used to being ignored. One morning at the bait shop, she cornered me. "We've had a board meeting," she said smugly. "You'll be fined $500 a week until you either remodel your cabin or agree to sell the island back to the HOA trust." "We already have a buyer lined up, lady," I said. "I bought this island to get away from people like you. Leave me alone." Her smirk deepened. "You'll find resistance is expensive." 2 weeks later, I returned from a supply run to find strangers on my island. Karen had sent a group of men with tool belts and clipboards to inspect my cabin. They were measuring windows, photographing my boat, even peeking through the cabin windows. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted. One of them shrugged. "HOA inspection. Your property is condemned until further notice." "Condemned?" I laughed bitterly. "This is private property. You're trespassing." I radioed the sheriff on the mainland. By the time deputies arrived by boat, Karen and her crew had scattered. But the deputies warned me. "She's been filing petitions to annex surrounding properties into her HOA. Watch your back." "She's got friends in City Hall," Karen escalated. She showed. Up again with an attorney, papers in hand. "You've been officially annexed," she declared. "This island is now under HOA jurisdiction. You have 30 days to comply with community codes or face forced sale." I tore the papers in half and tossed them into the waves. "You have no legal authority here." Her eyes glinted with malice. "You'll regret this. Sooner or later, we get what we want." That night I locked my cabin doors for the first time. The breaking point came one gray morning when I awoke to shouting. Boats surrounded my island. Karen, her attorney, and a half-dozen HOA enforcers stormed my dock, carrying ladders, toolboxes, and even chains. "We're here to enforce compliance," Karen barked. "Your cabin is condemned. Your dock will be locked until the property is sold." They nailed a giant red condemned sign to my front door. I stood there, fists clenched as they hammered notices into the sand and tied yellow tape around my shed. "You're trespassing," I shouted. This is harassment. Karen smirked. You don't own this island anymore. The HOA does. And that was when I grabbed my radio. Not for the sheriff this time. For the Coast Guard an hour later, the sound of heavy engines thundered across the water. A sleek Coast Guard cutter rounded the bend, sunlight flashing off its hull. Officers in crisp uniforms stepped onto my dock with calm authority. Who's in charge here? The lead officer asked. Karen stepped forward, puffing out her chest. I am. I'm the HOA president. This property is under our jurisdiction. Officer raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, this island lies in federal coastal territory and is privately owned. You have no jurisdiction here, according to the owner's report. You and your associates are trespassing. Karen laughed nervously. No, this is a misunderstanding. We're just enforcing community rules. Officer's voice sharpened. Ma'am, interfering with private property in federal coastal waters is a serious offense. Pack up your tools and leave immediately. When Karen tried to argue, the officer cut her off. Either you comply, or we arrest you for trespassing and obstruction. The color drained from her face. Within minutes, the Coast Guard escorted her and her crew back to their boats and forced them to leave. Word spread like wildfire. Karen's dramatic showdown with the Coast Guard became the talk of the town. Power crumbled. Neighbors who once feared her now mocked her. The HOA board voted her out within weeks, embarrassed by her overreach. The city council rejected her annexation petitions after the coast. Guard filed an official report confirming my island was off limits to HOA control, and me. I went back to peace, fishing at dawn, reading on the porch, falling asleep to the waves instead of HOA threats. Every now and then, I'd see boats passing by, locals pointing toward my island. No doubt retelling the story of how Karen tried to claim it and how the Coast Guard shut her down. Karen eventually sold her McMansion and left town. Rumor had it she tried joining another HOA in a different city, but her reputation followed. Nobody trusted her with authority again. As for me, my island remains mine, free, quiet, untouchable. And sometimes, when I look at the old nail holes in my cabin door where that condemned sign once hung, I laugh because nothing beats watching the Coast Guard escort an HOA off your island.